it's Faith, and I have some stories to tell. I'm a Boxer Bulldog mix. My mom and dad met me while I was being cared for at the Best Friends Animal Society in Utah and decided they wanted to adopt me. Now, I live in Muncie, Indiana, with Grateful Rescue and Sanctuary founders Pamela and Mike. In fact, I'm the ambassador for Grateful Rescue. It's a pretty sweet life. Sometimes I help my dad at the office, while other times I just demand attention from my mom. Tonight, we want you to gather around and listen to fun, interesting stories. We call it Faith's Book Nook. Each week, we pick a local celebrity or special person in the community to read a children's book that has an animal theme. We live stream it here each week. To be honest, I'm not sure what a live stream means. Anyways, make sure you're in your comfy chair because we're about to listen to a great story together at Faith's Book Nook.
I guess we're horsing around tonight, right? We've got such a wonderful show tonight. We're joined with a special guest, Lorie List, the author of our reading tonight, called "The Smallest Horse," about many horses, and Carolyn, who is our mini horse owner as well, and her horse is going to join us, Frankie. But before we get started and talk some more about that, we have we've got a slideshow coming up with minis our fans sent in. So let's go to the slideshow and take a look.
That was some slideshow, wasn't that, Pamela? Lots of horses, lots of horses.
Yes, and thank you for including mine. I've got a few minis myself, and the picture of the baby, that was my little grandson, Andrew, who's now 6 years old. But I used to have the horses in my backyard before I built my pasture. They ran around like dogs. Awesome. Like I said earlier, we have a real dog and pony show going on here.
Definitely. Well, I think it's time to head out to the barn, don't you, Pamela?
I do. I'm so excited. Frankie really stole the show.
Awesome. Let's take a look at that book tonight, The Smallest Horse. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Pope, and I'm from Muncie, Indiana, where Grateful Rescue is. This is Frankie. She is a miniature horse. She's 18 years old and is about 30 inches tall. So when they asked us if we could read a very important book with a great message, we were more than happy to do so. The book that we're reading today is called The Smallest Horse. It's by Lorie List, and it really does have a really good message. Frankie's going to help me read. What do you think? At first glance, you might think Trixie is a pony. She's very small, after all, like you. She is, for example, much, much smaller than the big horse Huey with his very long legs. She could probably walk right underneath his belly, and he wouldn't even notice. She's even smaller than Indy and Valentine, and they actually are ponies. She is a very, very small horse. She is a miniature horse. Trixie never said it out loud, but sometimes she wished she weren't so small. The other horses all have very important jobs that only big horses can do. Huey's often rounding up missing cattle on the ranch. When Trixie tried to help, she got lost in the tall grass, and Huey had to round her up. Indy is both sure-footed and brave, and the other horses trust her to keep them safe on the trail rides. Trixie tried to show the other horses she was brave too, but the creek was too deep for her to cross. Augie is always bringing home bright-colored ribbons from horse shows. Trixie studied his fancy moves, but they didn't look the same when she tried them. Kestrel is the fastest horse on the ranch, and Trixie thought if she were faster, perhaps she could have the important job. Trixie practiced fast every day, but she could never keep up with Kestrel. Even little Valentine has a very important job teaching the youngest children how to ride. Trixie tried to look big and strong, but nobody put a saddle on her. The big horses tried to cheer Trixie up by reminding her of all the things she liked about being such a small horse. Indy said, "But you're the perfect size for little children who want to braid flowers and ribbons into a horse's mane and tail." Trixie had to admit that she liked that very much. Kestrel said, "Whenever you want to take a nap, it's a snap for you to find a warm spot and curl up in the sun. I can barely fold up my long legs, right? And then I land on the ground with a big thump whenever I want to lie down." And Huey reminded Trixie that she also won whenever the horses played hide and seek. He said there's lots of great hiding places for a small, clever horse, but not very many for a big horse. Trixie knew the horses meant well, but playing games and taking naps just weren't the same as having an important job. No, she did not think that being small was really very nice at all. One afternoon, Trixie was munching on her favorite blackberry bush when a young girl and her mom arrived at the ranch. The girl's mom explained to Chrissy, the ranch manager, that her daughter had been sad since her best friend had moved away. She said Sarah loves horses, and I'm hoping they might cheer her up. Chrissy said, "I'm sure we can help with that." She took Sarah's hand and led her over to the big horses. The big horses all trotted up to the fence to check out the new people. Trixie shook her head to get her thick mane out of her eyes so she could see the little girl. The little girl looked up at Huey's long nose, then down at his very long hoofs. She took several steps back. Huey reached out with his nose just to say hello, but the little girl shrank back and turned away. "They're so big," she whispered. Chrissy smiled and said, "I know just who you need to meet." Trixie watched as the two of them walked toward her, unlatched the gate, and stepped into the pasture. Christy said, "This is Trixie. She is so kind and considerate, and she always helps me feel better when I'm sad. Let's see if she can help you too. As Chrissy and the little girl walked softly toward her, Trixie did her best to look very, very small. Trixie stretched out her neck until the whiskers on her muzzle just barely touched the girl. She nickered a soft hello. The big horses watched as the little girl with the sad eyes slowly smiled at the small horse that was exactly her size. Trixie's ears flickered forward and she gave her tail a shake as she realized they actually does have a very important job to do at the ranch. Being the smallest horse helps her do it even that much better. Frankie here is, like I said, going into a therapy program. She's been standing here a long time today, so she's kind of a little nudging. I think she's getting tired, but she enjoys the time we spend together, as do I. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this story. And please, if you'd like to check it out again, it's called The Smallest Horse by Lorie List.
Thank you so much. And you can buy that book straight from your website or Amazon, correct?
No, just from Amazon, actually.
Okay.
Yep. And they have it. It's on sale right now, I think. So
there you go. There you go. Everybody go to Amazon.com and get The Smallest Horse by Lorie List. It was a beautiful story. And we love it. We love having you. Carolyn, I want to start with you. You wanted horses all your life, and about 22 years ago, your dream come true, and you developed your horse farm, Castle Ponies, correct?
Yeah, I did.
Tell me.
We had neighbors who had horses. I kind of get the short end of the straw, but I didn't know it at the time. I loved horses so much that I would go to my neighbor's house, and to be able to ride them, I had to clean all the stalls. Now, I thought I was the one winning, but actually probably Mr. Haynes was. And I never outgrew that. And then it just took about 22 years ago before I finally had the opportunity. And miniatures were just the right fit for me. I'm very competitive. I'm a very competitive person. And so we show a lot. And Lorie, thank you so much for writing this book, because of all the horses that I show, and they do really well in shows, Frankie isn't one of them. But she too needed a special job, and that book reminded me of that, and it's helped us a lot. And I kind of use that phrase when I take her out. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
And then, Carolyn, you started showing horses, correct? You've had 11 different horses that you've shown, right?
I have. This is Mo. Mo's the current horse I have that I show. He's in training with a lady in Kentucky. A lot of people look at him and think he's a big horse, but he is not. He moves big, and he sure thinks he's big, and he does really well. And I co-own him with a young lady in Newcastle. She's done a lot of great things for him, and he in return has done some wonderful things for her. And her name's Grace.
Wow. And you've won lots of national awards, right? Like,
Phantom,
didn't you?
that's Phantom. Phantom's job is to show. Currently, do a lot of things.
Jake.
Obviously, Tice was trained to pull a cart. He has several national titles. And he used to work really hard at it, but right now he just really loves being out in the pasture and being the boss, because he definitely runs the place.
Awesome. Well, I heard Phantom was on a pretty good run there. Everybody knew who Phantom was because everything he entered, he won, correct?
He did for many years, whether it was halter or color. I mean, he's beautiful. And then as well. He went for several years where he only won. I was very proud of him, but to be honest, I mean, he has a great trainer. Because I worked so much, I wasn't always able to get them in the position they needed to be, and I knew that. So that's why they went to trainers. But no, he just did awesome. And then he showed for 7 years. That was long enough. He told me he was done. So you just have to listen. No, he was done.
And you still have him in retirement, correct? He lives with you at Castle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he runs the place.
Awesome. And you were saying Frankie is a therapy horse herself, and she has a gelding, a 5-year-old gelding that's getting ready to start too, right?
Yeah, I started him in training. He doesn't quite have her disposition, but he's close. She's just so mellow. I mean, like this morning, we were doing that for a long time. No fault of hers. It was because my phone, the mic kept cutting out. But she stood there for over an hour, and she did get a little fidgety, but she really has a great disposition. She loves everybody. If you were anybody to come over, she just wants to go up to them and love on them and rub them. And so, yeah.
That's wonderful.
Do really well. It's her 5-year-old son. That was her last baby that added to the therapy program too, along with Dave.
It's amazing. Amazing. People love mini horses, don't they? They see them and their hearts just melt. I don't know anybody who doesn't get excited when they see a little tiny horse. I mean, horses are beautiful enough, but when you see those little ones, it just melts your heart.
It does. And relating to Lorie's book is the first thing everybody always asks me, well, what in the world can you do with a mini? You know what? There's so many things. You know, there's also a picture, phantom drive. There's also obstacle courses to do. There's a Liberty class that is my absolute favorite. That's where we go into the ring and we let the horse go. And he runs, shows off whatever he may do, and then you have to catch him. But it's all beautiful to watch, and I just love it. So there's a lot of things you can do with minis, including therapy. So.
Yes, they definitely bring up the spirits for sure. Thank you so much, Carolyn. Lorie, I want to move to you. You grew up in Texas, and you also dreamt about having horses for most of your life. I read that you would get on a bicycle and dream that was your horse.
I totally pretended my bike was a horse. I grew up in the suburbs, so even though I was in Texas, I didn't have easy access to horses. And when I moved to Oregon, I got my first horse when I was 29 years old.
Oh, wow. And then you decided to develop this website, Pony Dreams. And tell me about that. I couldn't believe all the information you have on there for people that want to learn.
Well, I didn't really set out to write a children's book. That wasn't on my list of life goals. But what I really wanted was I wanted connection with horses so much when I was a kid. And I read everything I could about horses. And so when I got to a point in my life when I had my wonderful horse and was around all these wonderful horses, I thought, well, what if I could write a book that kids could read, but then they could actually go to the website and meet the real horses? Because I think that connection between children and horses is just an incredible one. And so my goal, and Amanda's goal, who did the illustrations, was to just give kids a way who can't be around horses, or even kids who have horses, but just to learn more and be more connected with the horses.
I love it. I mean, it's really cool, first of all, to see the real horses. Like there's Trixie. We see Trixie and all the other horses that are in the story. And see that this isn't just a fictional story. It's actually based on real animals. And I love that you show different little things about horses that people don't know, like measuring, how you measure a horse. For those who don't know, why don't you share how you measure horses? It's not in inches, is it?
No, it's in hands, but a hand is equal to 4 inches. Mm-hmm. So every hand is 4 inches, and so they used to actually do it with their hand, and it was a fist or a hand, but then finally they realized that it's different from everybody. So that's how you measure a horse. My horse Indy is 14 hands 1 inch, for example.
Aww.
What to say there? Trixie is, I can't remember, 9 hands. Does that say 9 hands 2 inches? Yeah.
I love that picture.
I do too.
And so Trixie is a therapy horse, right? Do you take her out, or do people come visit? How's that work?
So Trixie is not my horse. She she's part of the Chiron Foundation, and they, the horses at the ranch that are part of this program, they actually, I mean, this is really timely, but they work mostly with first responders. So people who are on the line, so paramedics, EMTs, police officers. We have them coming to the ranch all the time to work with the horses in this program.
I love it. I love it. But you do have a horse, Indy, right? Is Indy your horse?
Indy's my horse. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, there we go. There's Indy.
She's my dream horse for sure.
Gosh. Well, we just love this. I am amazed at what you've done. I love all the different informational, educational pieces to your site.
It's not just a little bit more on the website if you can. This next picture is super cute.
Oh my gosh! Oh, I love that. Guys, oh.